I first met Barry working with him, but then when we really started to get to know each other was at the bioastronomy conference in Australia. I was a little jet lagged, so I was running at 5 in the morning. This one morning it was really foggy, and I'm getting ready to go out and I see a silhouette, and it's Barry. And he said, oh, he wanted to go hiking, but he was worried about going alone, and would I go with him? And I said, yeah, of course, you betcha. And the next 5 mornings in a row, we went hiking together.
The first time I ever met Barry in person was at a job interview. I felt pretty intimidated. Here he was, the great Nobel laureate, and he was quite different than I expected. He had a knack for immediately putting you at ease. And we just proceeded to have, I wouldn't call it a job interview, I would call it a conversation.
I probably met Barry about 6 months after he became the NAI director, and was just immediately struck by this combination of intellect and humanity.
Barry had an amazing ability to meet you and just so quickly and easily connect with you. He was able to find your passions and connect them with his own in a way that was so effortless. You became a friend of Barry's in the first 5 minutes of knowing him.
Well, Barry Blumberg is, frankly, the neatest person I've ever met. I first met him at NASA headquarters, where he was working for Dan Golden up on the 9th floor in the nosebleed section. And as I usually do, I sort of said, when NASA's doing a lot of rubbish like this astrobiology thing, it only took about 2 minutes for him to persuade me that astrobiology was, far from being rubbish, was the coolest thing NASA has done. Since then, he has been a friend, a colleague, and a mentor. But we're going to miss him. He is a man for the ages. He's a friend to all Americans. He's a friend to science. He's a friend to NASA, friend to NASA Ames, and he is my friend.
When the NASA Astrobiology Institute was being formed, Dan Golden, who was the administrator of NASA at the time, was looking for what we called an 800-pound biologist to head the institute. And when we heard that Dan had recruited a Nobel laureate to head the institute, we were all really, really thrilled.
Barry's very presence and his reputation put astrobiology on the map. We were struggling to define a new discipline, but having someone of Barry's stature to agree with us, to agree to take on this responsibility to become a NASA spokesperson for astrobiology was a fabulous advance for all of us. It gave us credibility. It attracted other people. It made astrobiology a real science.
Well, Barry Blumberg is astrobiology. He understood before the rest of us that one of the most important things that NASA can do is to find out how life began, where else is it in the universe, and most importantly, what its future is.
He set the stage with the Astrobiology Institute that there were so many things that he did that we could adopt when we formed the Lunar Science Institute to make it successful as well.
He believed that science was done by people, and he believed in people, and he believed in the interactions that were an important part. Science is not just esoteric, it's not just the lab or observations or calculations. It's a profoundly human enterprise.
I think one of his major gifts was seeing not just the good in people, but the brilliance in people. Everyone has strengths and weaknesses and maybe a little spark of brilliance, and he saw that. He always saw that.
It was his connection with people. It was seeing them grow, being able to pass on his knowledge to them, his passion to them.
One of my fondest memories of Barry is his interaction with our scientific staff. He would come by here And not a trip went by, but what he would stop in the coffee room or the kitchen or stroll down the hallway and stop in one of our younger scientists' offices just to ask them what's up and find out what they were working on. And I would often leave him for what would become a 15, 20, 25-minute conversation where he was trying to understand what they were working on. And naturally, everyone who had such an interaction with him was just delighted and excited that he had taken that time. He was an accidental mentor, I think, to everyone he came in touch with.
I think what was often surprising to people was how approachable he was and just warm and open, which helps, I think, in brainstorming and creative problem solving. You always felt safe to have an idea, to try something new, and it was a really empowering feeling. And you knew that it was okay with Barry to just give anything a try, and it's okay to fail. I think that was an important thing to learn, is that it's okay to fail. In fact, I think sometimes he liked failure. It was, an exciting thing to fail, as long as you learn from it and then move on.
I watched him in working with our scientists, and he was always encouraging them to look for the serendipity. You may discover something very important when you least expect it, and I think everyone benefited.
I'll miss seeing him walk in the door and plop himself in that chair over there and say, "Okay, Carl, what do we have to talk about today?" I will miss seeking his counsel and ideas. I will miss the parties that we had whenever he was out here. We'd always take a visit from Barry as an opportunity to have a party.
We gather at someone's home, and he loved wine and food and conversation, and he was the life of the party, and I'm really gonna miss that.
It's important to remember that Barry is the model we should all try to follow. He's a model for a citizen of the world, an American, a scientist, and just one heck of a nice person. If we can aspire to be like Barry Blumberg in even a small way, then we have, I think, met his expectations.
The reason I was first thrilled to go hiking with him was this sort of on-the-trail opportunity to talk about things that you don't always get to talk about when you're in the office. And I just loved that. I loved going on these long walks. He talked about our endless conversations, and one of the last emails he sent me, he said, I'm looking forward to continuing our endless conversation.
Humble, brilliant, friendly, enthusiastic, with 3 exclamation points after it. He was enthusiastic about everything he did, and special.
Warm, caring, passionate, innovative beyond belief, brilliant beyond words, happy,
Curious, joyful, loving. He was a gentleman and a gentle man.
If I could talk to Barry one last time, I would tell him thank you. Thank you for being in my life, for being in the life of everyone at the SETI Institute. Thank you for being who you are and what you brought to the world, and we're going to miss you.
If I had a minute to tag up with him one last time, I'd tell him something you don't often tell colleagues. I'd tell him I loved him. And I think that's what other people. I hope that our love for Barry was apparent. And if I had the opportunity to talk to him one last time, I would just make sure that it was explicit rather than implicit.
I guess I would just say thank you. And I would tell him, I'd just tell him what a privilege it's been knowing someone like him.
I would thank him for being my friend.